Hey, my name is Rafael and you're watching Rock and Roll Garage, and today we're going to talk about one of the greatest bands of all time, The Doors. Well, The Doors was formed in Los Angeles, California back in 1965 by Ray Manzarek, who was the keyboardist, Jim Morrison, who was the band's vocalist and main songwriter and lyricist, Robbie Krieger, who was the guitarist, and John Densmore, who was the drummer. And, well, you might be wondering, who was the bass player? All rock and roll bands, heavy metal bands, all kinds of rock and roll bands have a bass player. Well, the Doors never had a bass player as an official member. And they, at least during the years with Jim Morrison as a frontman, since he passed away, the Doors never had a bass player officially playing live with them. But they had a few bass players playing with them in the studio. But live, it was Mr. Ray Manzarek, the keyboardist, who did something that filled the need of having a bass player live. And I'm going to explain to you how that worked in this video, but please first don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave your comment below, okay? Well, if you don't want to watch the video, you can go to the article in the description and read it all that I'm saying here. But okay, let me explain to you how Ray Manzarek, how this worked on the keyboards. Well, the thing is, and he explained in an interview with Fresh Air in 1998 that you're gonna see what he said. He used a Fender Rhodes keyboard bass, which was, according to him, 32 notes of extra low sounding low notes. It was very easy for me to do. So he would fill that bass guitar gap with the keyboards. With one hand, he would focus on the keyboard parts. With the other hand, he would play the bass parts on the keyboards. And I mean, if it's hard to play an instrument and to play it really well like he did. He was a genius. And, you know, with one hand he would play the keyboard parts, and with the other hand he would play the bass parts. So it was like if he was playing two instruments at once. And that's just surreal, you know. It's the hardest thing to do that we all can imagine. And it's really incredible, you know. He also said in an interview with Harvey Kubernick in 2010, a few years before he passed away, Ray said, he said, first of all, the left hand created that hypnotic Doors sound. For instance, during the Light My Fire solo section, it's an A minor triad to a B minor triad that just repeats like John Coltrane's song, My Favorite Things. The same sort of modal chord structure that Coltrane used in My Favorite Things. Left-handed, I'm playing the same thing over and over. The right hand just keep playing filigree, comping behind Robbie Krieger, puncturing with chords, puncturing with single notes, playing with Robbie Krieger. When I'm soloing, I'm playing anything I want to play. And that bass line just keeps on going. It never varies and never stops. Over and over, like a tribal drumming or Howlin' Wolf playing one of his songs without any chord changes. On and on. The same pattern. Now, if I were to have added a live bass player to play that, the guy, after about 2 or 3 minutes playing the same two triad, I've had guys say to me, I can't do this, Ray. So, you know, that's another incredible thing about the Doors. I mean, They never had a bass player live when Jim Morrison was with the band, and it was just incredible. The drummer John Densmore already said that it was like Ray could split his brain into two musicians, because he would use one hand to play the keyboards and the other to play the bass parts, and that's just incredible to think. The talent that Ray had, and all the great songs, incredible songs that the Doors had, and everyone who was lucky enough to have seen them live always said that it was an incredible performance. There are many incredible shows that we can see from them that I recorded, especially that one from the Hollywood Bowl, and you can see, Ray just fantastic. The whole band was really tight. It sounded great, and you saw that the bass was really there somehow, and although they never had a bass player live playing with the band when Morrison was still the frontman, they had quite a few bassists recording with them in the studio. So there are songs, like for example, I selected a few, like Soul Kitchen, 20th Century Fox, Light My Fire, I Looked at You, and Take It As It Comes, from their 1967 debut album, self-titled debut album. They had the bassist Larry Knetchell playing the bass on those songs. On the other ones, it was Ray doing his thing. On the second album, for example, which was Strange Days, released in 1967, they had a bass player called Doug Luban playing bass on almost the entire album. For example, the next album, Waiting for the Sun, released in 1968, they had Luban again. He played on the track Spanish Caravan, and they also had other two bass players in that album, which were Leroy Vinegar and Kerry Magnus. On the fourth album, which was The Soft Parade in 1969, they had Luban once again and Harvey Brooks. Both of them played on almost all the tracks from that album. And on Morrison Hotel, released in 1970, they also had two other bassists, which were Ray Neapolitan and Lonnie Mack. They once again played the bass in almost all the tracks in the studio, but they didn't play with the band live. It would be Ray doing his thing. On LA Woman, which was the final album with Jim Morrison, they had another famous session bass player who was Jerry Scheff. He performed once again like the ones from the previous albums on almost all the tracks in the studio. In the following, because after Jim Morrison tragically passed away in 1971 at the age of 27, the band decided to carry on and try to carry on as a trio. So Ray, Robbie, and John carried on as a trio. They released two more albums as a trio, which were called Other Voices in 1971, and the next one, Full Circle, in 1972. Both of those albums had Robbie and Ray on vocals. And obviously they weren't as successful as the ones with Jim. Jim already had that imagery. He was the poet, he was the lyricist, he was the god of the band for the main audience, and it was really hard for them to continue, obviously. And those were the two albums without Morrison on vocals. And during the promotion of those albums, they toured to promote those albums. It was then that when the band finally had a bass player playing live with them. In 1972, Jack Conrad performed live with them as the bass player of the band. So it wasn't only the three of them on stage. They had this extra touring member at the time. And in the few reunions they made over the decades, they also had a few bass players playing live with them. So that's it. I hope you liked the video. Now you know that it was actually Ray who used to do the bass parts on the keyboards, and that the Doors also had real bassists playing bass in the studio with them, and that after Morrison passed away and the band carried on as a trio, they also had a few bass players playing live with them. And I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave your comment, and I'll see you next time.